Welcome to the Licensed to Live show, where professionals, doctors, champions, VIPs, attorneys, and those in public office discover strategies that help you restart and gain what is lost when you find yourself accused. If another has doubted your integrity, questioned your credentials, or caused your actions to come under scrutiny, you are in the right place. On the other hand, if you have never felt the knot in the pit of your stomach when legal papers are served, the heartbreak of disappointing your family when the lock clicks shut on handcuffs, or had to appear before a board of review, then be aware, the longer you serve, the more likely you are to find yourself under the microscope of those who judge. Prepare yourself for this uncomfortable possibility. Now, here's your host, Dr. Jarrett Patton.
Welcome to this special episode of License to Live. We are doing a Women's History Month nod by recapping all of the women history makers that are out there making herstory today. And there will be an incredible legacy that they will leave behind, but we have interviewed them in this show and License to Live. Almost, it doesn't matter where I was able to catch them. Sometimes it's over Zoom. Sometimes I catch them coming off the stage at a conference. You name it, we have tried to give you all of this information. So this is another special episode where we're going to highlight a few of the women of the License to Live podcast. And we're going to start today with one of our all-time most popular episodes, which is episode 37. And this episode featured film director, and this was actually the first film director that we interviewed on this show. We've been blessed to have interviewed more since then, but this was the very first film director, Robyn Symon, and she's talking about her film, Do No Harm, Exposing the Hippocratic Hoax, which is a film about physician suicide epidemic. And she talks exactly what she means by the Hippocratic hoax right here in this episode.
So, a lot of people say, well, what do you mean by the Hippocratic hoax? And what I mean by it is that, you take an oath to do no harm. And part of that whole white coat ceremony that is in the film is this idealism that you go into medical school thinking you're going to spend a lot of time with your patients and you fill out these personal statements about why you want to be a doctor and the kind of doctor you're going to be. And then you quickly learn when you get to medical school that it's a business. And the shorter amount of time you can spend with a patient, the better. And so that's the hoax. The hoax is this promise that you're going to be the doctor that you want to be, and realizing that it's not possible in the current system. So that's what we have to expose and fix.
And then she went on to describe her motivation for this part of her film career, because in order for her to take on a project, she's going to have to commit herself for a significant amount of time. And she talks about why physician suicide was important to her.
Well, it started in 2014, it's so funny when people say, I've got a great idea for a documentary. They don't realize it's multiple years. Like, I have to think, do I want to spend the next 5-6 years of my life working on this topic? It's not as easy as we make it look. But this all started back in 2014 when these two young doctors jumped from the roofs of their hospitals within 1 week of each other in New York. And I come from a family of physicians. My grandfather is a physician. My uncle is a surgeon. I have 2 cousins at the Cleveland Clinic. So, they were just like, they're the rocks of our family, they're just the pillars. So I just couldn't imagine why young doctors, knowing, what med school is about and how much it takes to just get through it, why they would, and how brilliant doctors are. And it would have to be like a logical decision to jump in their minds. So I just wanted to know what it was, what was driving them to do such a thing. And then, of course, how does this impact patients ultimately?
Next, we go back to episode 21, where we had Dr. Uchenna Umeh, and she came on the show talking about a number of things that made her career change. And she's done a lot of things in her career, like writing books. She has her own podcast. She's done lots of things, and she's constantly advocating for children's rights and adolescents' rights and young adults' rights as a pediatrician. And listen to what she has to say in this clip.
So, like I said, in 2008, my first patient, and I'm just going to call him Logan. I don't know, for lack of I need a name. And so Logan came with his mother, and his mom was concerned because his behavior he was 15. His behavior was changing. He was a football player and he used to run track. And then she was like, he's no longer interested in football. He doesn't want to run track anymore. He's just not happy. He's just acting differently. So she thought he must have been doing drugs, or she wanted me to check him to see if that was a situation that was going on. And I was like, okay, sure. But one of the things you do, as you know, as a pediatrician, is you always get that PHQ-9 screen. So when I did the PHQ-9, I think he was like in 18 or something. And then when I did my own one-on-one talk with him, I realized that, this kid is probably depressed. And so at the end of the day, I spoke to his mother, and his mom was like, you know what, if that's what it is, well, I'm glad it's not drugs, but can you at least test him for drugs anyway? And she was really adamant on the drug thing. Eventually, she said, well, if that's the situation, then if it's just depression, well, I had depression, I did just fine. He's going to be just fine. And so that's kind of how the whole thing ended. And that was in March. And in July 4th of that year, in front of the entire family, while they were having their 4th of July barbecue and stuff, he put a double-barreled shotgun in his mouth and pulled the trigger. And everything stopped for me that day. And I was like, what? But that was in 2008. And I still kept on. After my divorce, I joined the Air Force. I was a lieutenant colonel and I was commander, and I had to do with a lot of counseling with my own troops and myself, just getting used to what's going on, what's not going on. And then the patients, a lot of these kids were coming in with behavioral problems, cutting, anxiety, depression. And I just chalked it up to the military, their parents are deployed, it's a tough life and all that. And then after my 4 years, I decided to get out because I really prefer my heels to my boots. So I got out of the Air Force. I got, honorably discharged, and I got into private practice again with a group practice this time, a ginormous practice here in San Antonio. And then I kept on seeing the depressed patients. They kept coming in. The suicidal patients, they kept coming in. And then at one point, my nurse actually did the math, and they told me I get between 3 and 4 a day. I think it was more like 2 or 3 a day, but we did get at least 2 or 3 patients every single day coming in depressed and suicidal. Lots of suicidal attempts.
Next, we have Dr. Leah Houston. She came in episode 39, and she actually came into a couple of License to Live episodes. She's one of the few guests that have had multiple appearances because she's had so much to say. But she is an emergency room physician and has really gained her entire experience around HPEC, which is empowering physicians to really own their own data. And she talks about how she had a life-changing experience as a doctor that made her want to do things very different in her life moving forward, especially after her identity got stolen. And you will hear what Dr. Leah Houston has to hear right after we finish these messages.
The time is now to refresh your career. We help doctors, lawyers, executives, and VIPs refresh and restart. Dr. Jarrett's coaching helps you build confidence, gain more credibility, develop more leadership skills, and gain clarity in your career path. Want to climb the executive ladder or branch out on your own? We'll put your career in overdrive. Visit drjarrett.com and sign up for your free strategy session.
Hey, Hey, this is Dr. Jarrett Patton. Do you need more positivity in your life? No matter what part of your life you want to transform, positive affirmations can help you achieve your goals. But sometimes making permanent changes can be difficult. Designed with you in mind, Licensed to Live. Daily affirmations to rebuild your life will inspire and equip you to become the best version of yourself. Licensed to Live. Daily affirmations to rebuild your life will set you on the path to changing your mindset, beliefs, speech, and ultimately your actions. You can change your life now by getting your copy at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, your finer book retails, or licensedtolive.com. That's licensedtolive.com.
Something smells good. EH3 coffee. EH3 coffee. Premium organic. Nothing better than waking up. EH3 in your cup. Premium organic. EH3 coffee. Nothing better than in the middle of your day. EH3 coffee. Premium organic. EH3 coffee.
Hey guys, this is Janae Noonan, and I'm here with Dr. Jarrett on Licensed to Live. Hit the subscribe, follow the journey, let's go.
My venture into medicine was because I really love science and I wanted to help people. I always had lots of things going on in the background. I had, been involved in health policy for many years and public policy. Like everybody else who's listening to the show, I was so excited to really make my contribution and make my mark in medicine and go out and help people and make a difference. But as I was practicing, I noticed there's just something wrong with what's going on and how it's happening. And I realized that something needed to be changed. And the thing that pushed me over the edge was when a hospital stole my identity.
Wow. They stole your identity?
Yeah. So, we all have NPI numbers. If we work in health systems, we have to have Medicare and Medicaid PTAN numbers. And those are the numbers that allow the hospital to bill under your professional identity. And, you fill out all these pieces of paper when you credential for a hospital, essentially telling, signing away your rights and allowing the health system to use those numbers as they see fit. And in this current centralized system, that's the only way to do it. Because, you need a middleman between you and CMS and you and the insurance company, or else you're going to be sitting there pushing paper in the wee hours of the night. So the thing that happened is when I left a hospital and left that state, the person who was responsible for removing my name from the list of physicians who were supervising mid-level providers in that emergency department did not remove my name. And they had this rotating list where, every few days they would have, a different doctor on the list, and we'd be just essentially forced to sign the charts of these people. And so they were continuing to bill, even though I was no longer there, even though I wasn't even practicing in that hospital or that state anymore. And it turns out that, it alerted the Center for Medicare and Medicaid that I was supposedly practicing without a license because that license had lapsed in that state. I was no longer there. And so, it caused a huge problem for me. And it really got me thinking about my identity as a professional, my rights as a physician. And it made me realize, patients have all these rights. They have HIPAA. They have all these rules and regulations around their data and their information. But we as physicians, we have no protection from an employment and a credentialing standpoint.
And here you have it, another mini episode dedicated to the women of Licensed to Live in honor of Women's History Month. There are so many. I don't think we're going to be able to fit them all in this month, but we will get as many as we can this month, and then we will celebrate again during Women's History Month coming up in the future.
No matter how disheartening the moment of accusation sounds, how deep the pain of immobilization stabs, or how bleak your future looks, no one can take away your license to live. Keep Dr. Jarrett's expertise handy and unlock your future. Go to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or another podcast player and subscribe right now to Licensed to Live. See you next time.